My fiancé refused to sign the prenup, saying it's an insult. I replied, I understand. Then I canceled the venue and called off the wedding via a public post. The next morning, her father was at my door. I, 32 male, am, or rather was, engaged to a woman I thought I knew. Her name is Madison, 29. We've been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months, and we're supposed to be married in 4. I was all in. I genuinely believed she was my person. Some background is necessary. I'm not from money. I own a small software development company that I started from zero in my garage 5 years ago. It was built on 80-hour weeks, instant noodles, and taking a massive risk with my own savings. Today it's stable. We have 15 employees, a great client roster, and a solid reputation. My life is secure because I made it that way, one line of code at a time. Given this, my lawyer, who is also a close friend, was adamant about a prenuptial agreement. It wasn't about expecting failure or lacking love. It was a pragmatic step to protect the business, the livelihoods of my employees, and my future. The terms were straightforward. What's mine going in remains mine. What's hers remains hers. Any assets or debts acquired together after the marriage would be considered marital property and split 50-50. It was a shield for us both. I broached the subject with Madison 2 weeks ago. I was calm, explained my reasoning, and emphasized that it was a standard business practice to protect my partners and employees. She seemed to understand, smiled, and took the copy to review. I felt relieved. The deadline to sign was last night, right before the final, non-refundable $15,000 venue payment was due. We'd already put down a $5,000 deposit. Over dinner, I brought it up. Hey, just wanted to check in on the prenup. We need to get that finalized before I make the venue payment tomorrow. Her pleasant expression evaporated. I've looked at it, she said, setting down her fork. And I won't be signing it, Jordan. I kept my voice neutral. Okay, can you tell me what your concerns are? We can have the lawyers adjust it. My concern is the document itself, she said, her voice gaining a sharp edge. It's a disgusting insult. It implies I'm a gold digger. It tells me you don't trust me, that you don't really see us as a team. Madison, it doesn't say that. It's about protecting premarital assets, including the company. It's a just-in-case for a worst-case scenario that I hope never happens. My parents don't have a prenup. They built a life on trust. This feels like you're planning our divorce before we're even married. It's either me or that piece of paper. You have to choose what this marriage is going to be about. The argument went in circles, but her position became clearer with every word. She saw my company not as something I had built, but as a resource we would both control. The prenup wasn't an insult to her love, it was an obstacle to her entitlement. In that moment, the romantic haze just vanished. I wasn't looking at my partner. I was looking at a stranger with an agenda. A profound, chilling calm settled over me. This wasn't a negotiation, it was a revelation. I understand, I said quietly. A small, triumphant smile played on her lips. She thought she'd won the argument. Good. I'm glad you're being reasonable. I nodded, excused myself from the table, and went into my office. I called the venue and canceled, eating the $5 deposit. A painful loss, but better than losing $20. I then methodically canceled the caterer, the photographer, and the band. Finally, I posted a simple, factual message on our wedding website and the social media event page. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding of Jordan and Madison, scheduled for October 12th, has been canceled. I apologize for any inconvenience this causes our guests. I wish Madison all the best. I packed an overnight bag, left the apartment that I pay for, and checked into a hotel. I needed space to process the implosion of my life. I turned my phone off. This morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls and texts. Then came the banging on my hotel room door. When I didn't answer, the room phone rang. The front desk clerk sounded nervous. A man named Bruce, Madison's father, was in the lobby demanding to see me. He was, I was told, making a scene. Update 1. Thank you all for the comments and support. It's been a long 2 weeks. The situation has festered, as these things tend to do. I met Bruce in the hotel coffee shop. He came in hot, all blustering indignation. You embarrassed my daughter, was his opening line. Madison made a choice, and I responded to it, I said, keeping my voice low. A choice? You ambushed her with a legal document designed to treat her like a criminal. She had 2 weeks and the advice of a lawyer, which I offered to pay for. She gave me an ultimatum. It's that simple. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial growl. Fix it, Jordan. Call everyone back. Tell them it was a lover's quarrel. You're a young guy, you're emotional, people will understand. You don't want to make an enemy of me. The relationship is over, Bruce. There's nothing to fix. I stood up and left him there. The fallout since then has been a slow, grinding misery. The smear campaign started subtly. Madison told friends I'd had a sudden breakdown, that the stress of the business was getting to me, and that I'd pushed her away. She was painting herself as the devoted fiancée, desperately worried about my mental state. Legally, things got complicated. I sent her a formal, lawyer-drafted email stating that since she was not on the lease, she had 30 days to vacate the premises, per state tenancy laws. Her response was a tearful phone call. I can't believe you're kicking me out. I have nowhere to go. I'm too devastated to even think about packing. She tried to drag it out, hoping to stay longer. This was followed by texts from her mother, Frances, accusing me of being heartless. I held firm. I did not engage. I simply restated that the 30-day notice was firm and that she needed to make arrangements. The real escalation came on the business front. Bruce's threats weren't empty, but they were more insidious than I expected. I didn't get a call from my top client. Instead, one of my key software suppliers, a company I've had a great relationship with for years, suddenly tightened my credit line, citing market volatility. My account manager sounded apologetic but firm. A week later, a mid-sized client put a promising new project on hold, mentioning they'd heard some unsettling rumors about my company's stability. Bruce wasn't making direct slanderous calls. He was poisoning the well. He's a member of a prominent local business association and sits on a charity board. He was using his network to drip poison into the ecosystem, creating a narrative that my company was on shaky ground. It was clever and terrifyingly effective because it was all hearsay and whispers, nothing I could immediately sue him for. The 30 days finally ended last Friday. That was move-out day. And it brought a whole new level of drama, centered around my most prized possession. I received an email from Madison with a spreadsheet of her belongings. It included things like my TV and an expensive espresso machine I bought years before meeting her. At the very bottom of the list were 2 words that made my blood run cold. Grandfather's watch. It's a vintage 1960s Omega Seamaster. It was my grandfather's. I had it professionally restored after he passed away. It's my one tangible connection to him. Madison admired it, and I let her wear it once to an event. That's it. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a calculated act of malice. I knew I couldn't be there for the move-out. The confrontation would be ugly. So I asked my friend Billy, who is impossibly calm, and his lawyer father to be there to supervise. I gave them a clear list. Her stuff, and only her stuff, was to be packed. I had receipts and photos to prove ownership of everything else. The main event was, predictably, the watch. When Madison realized it wasn't packed, she allegedly lost it. She claimed I gave it to her as an engagement gift, a new family heirloom. Her mother, who came with her, backed up the lie completely. Billy's lawyer father simply stated the facts. Jordan's position is that this is a family heirloom from his side, and it is not part of your shared property. If you wish to dispute this, your recourse is through the courts, specifically a small claims filing. We have documentation proving his prior ownership. The legal language cut through the histrionics. They couldn't bully their way through it. They left, furious and defeated, but not before Madison screamed at Billy, "Tell Jordan he's not going to get away with this." The whispers about my business, the attempt to claim my property, the emotional manipulation, it's all part of a concerted effort to break me down. They think that because I'm quiet, I'm passive. They're wrong. They've attacked my work and my family legacy. The game has changed. Final update. It's been a while. The dust hasn't so much settled as it has been rearranged. The last few months have been a masterclass in quiet, methodical self-preservation. This isn't a story about a fiery revenge, but about a slow, deliberate dismantling of a campaign waged against me. The attacks on my business continued in whispers. I lost the client that put the project on hold. It was a financial hit. Bruce's strategy was working. He was creating an aura of instability around me, and it was costing me money and sleep. My anger, which had been a cold hard stone in my gut, finally found a productive outlet. Research. I didn't look for some grand secret fraud. I started with public records, something any citizen can do. Bruce's company website was full of self-congratulatory nonsense about their unwavering ethics and community partnerships. I spent a few nights a week for a month digging into court filings and business registries. I found a pattern. Bruce's company had been taken to small claims court 6 times in the last 3 years by different small-scale subcontractors, electricians, painters, landscapers. The claims were always for unpaid final invoices, usually between $5,000 and $10,000. He would either ignore them until a judgment was filed or settle at the last minute for a lower amount. He was bullying small business owners, choking their cash flow because he knew they couldn't afford a protracted legal fight. This was my leverage. This was the truth behind the community leader facade. My counteroffensive wasn't a single event, but a series of calculated, indirect actions. Action 1. Correcting the social narrative. I never engaged with Madison's drama online. Instead, I had quiet, one-on-one conversations with the mutual friends who mattered. I didn't show them spreadsheets or play recordings. I just told them my side of the story, simply and honestly. I told them about the prenup ultimatum, the attempt to claim my grandfather's watch, and the subsequent rumors that were hurting my business. The truth, delivered without hysteria, has its own weight. The social tide didn't turn overnight, but it turned. Action 2. The catalyst. One of the subcontractors who had sued Bruce was a small, family-run electrical company with a stellar reputation. Let's call them Spark Electrical. I knew their name from my own industry. I drafted an anonymous letter. I sent it to the owner of Spark Electrical via snail mail from a postbox in another town. The letter was simple. It laid out the other 5 small claims cases against Bruce's company, complete with case numbers I'd found in the public record. It detailed the whispers I'd heard about my own company's stability, suggesting a pattern of predatory behavior. I ended the letter with a simple question. How many other small businesses has he done this to? I included no information about myself. I provided the kindling and the matches. It was up to them if they wanted to start the fire. They did. About a month later, a local business journal published an article titled, "Is Development Titan Squeezing Small Business? Local Contractors Allege Pattern of Non-Payment." The journalist had been tipped off by the owner of Spark Electrical, who now, armed with the knowledge he wasn't alone, had organized the other small business owners. My name was never mentioned. The story was all about Bruce and his alleged history of stiffing the little guy. The fallout. The consequences were not a Hollywood explosion, but a slow, grinding decline. For Bruce, the article was a disaster for his public image. He relies on his reputation as a community pillar to get investors and city council approvals. The story made him look like a bully. A major charity he was on the board of accepted his resignation a week later. An investor for an upcoming project got cold feet and pulled his funding, citing concerns about reputational risk. He's not ruined. He's still a wealthy man. But his influence is diminished, his reputation is stained, and he's bogged down in a PR nightmare of his own making. The whispers he started about me were replaced by a roar about him. For Madison, her world shrank. The story about her father confirmed for many the entitled, grasping nature I had described. She didn't become a complete outcast, but her social standing took a serious hit. The last I heard, she's dating someone, but it's not the high-flying CEO type she and her family clearly expected. She's still posting sad, vague things online, but now they read less like tragedy and more like sour grapes. For me, it wasn't a clean victory. I lost a client and took a financial hit. The stress was immense, but my company is stable. The rumors about me died down once the source of the poison was exposed. I learned a brutal lesson about vetting the people I let into my life. I don't feel a rush of triumphant joy. I mostly feel tired, but also profoundly relieved. I protected what I built. My grandfather's watch is on my dresser. It ticks steadily, a quiet reminder of what's real and what's lasting. The engagement was a mistake, but the way I ended it was the most important business decision I've ever made. I chose to protect my foundation, and in the end, that's what's left standing.